Good morning, Westeros!
And welcome to our Morning Throners podcast. I'm Nelson.
I'm Jeff.
I'm Kyle, and we're the fucking Morning Throners.
And welcome back to another episode of your favorite Song of Ice and Fire podcast. We are your Morning Throners with Tyrion 8 on deck. Gentlemen, how are we doing?
Man, why didn't they kill him better, right? Like, come on.
Just jumping right into it.
I usually avoid it. I wanted to flip the script a little tonight.
Who died?
Joffrey, man. Why? Like, he deserved worse, in my opinion.
I don't know. It sounded pretty brutal.
Choking to death is brutal, for sure. But, like, not like, and we went through this, like, a while ago. Like, poisoning is kind of like a chicken's way out, you know?
Yeah.
I think it's good because we hate Joffrey, but we also hate Cersei. And it might not be a horrible death for Joffrey, but it's an absolutely horrible moment for Cersei.
She had to watch him choke to death.
Her son die at his own wedding. Like I feel like that's a big moment
in
for
her
parents,
arms.
like when your kid's getting
Oh yeah, for sure.
So that it feels good. That part makes it feel good.
She's like living it's the dream, right? She's living the dream. Her son just got married. He's about to be, the king with Marjorie, the, big, two families coming together. And then he's even like making fun of Tyrion, which she probably was like gassing that stuff up. And boom, now he's dead.
Well,
Yeah.
This is, let's revert back to actually going in order here. But before we do that, I mean, I said it was going to be the Joffrey show. It was the fucking Joffrey show, right?
Yeah, the wedding. Yeah, that's true. That's what you did say for the breakfast.
So I meant the whole day. Yep. I didn't say that for the breakfast. I said the whole day.
Yeah, I know. You said it in the breakfast chapter. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
All
so
right,
the short
we
summary
do have
is
a big.
Yeah, I was going to say, short summary is just ceremony, feast, all of Joffrey's wedding. So just picking up again. This is the third chapter in a row that just picks up right off the heels, right? So we had Tyrion morning, go down to see, like early morning, going down to see Shay. Right on the heels of that, Sansa getting ready, going to breakfast. Right on the heels of that, we have wedding day. So I think it's kind of cool.
Exactly. It was straight linear story. And it honestly, it didn't really feel like it changed too much between the 2 points. Like, I don't feel like we missed something from one and not the other.
Yeah, exactly. It's like almost right on the heels. Yeah.
Well, that's not even what I meant. So I meant like, I felt like their perspectives, I didn't feel like, oh, Sansa is completely ignoring this very obvious thing that Tyrion's dealing with. Like, I feel like they were both kind of in a very similar situation. It was kind of, it felt, I don't want to say through the same eyes, but it was like, which chapter am I reading? Oh, Tyrion, that's right.
Yeah, I agree. 100% agree. I was definitely like that when I was taking notes. They're almost like a collective for this group of chapters.
And not to jump too far ahead, but did we see the next chapter?
It's another Sansa.
Okay,
Yeah.
Kyle, I just want to see if Kyle turned the page. So, yeah, no, for sure. We're just it's kind of like a TV show. Like, we're just going, like, scene to scene. It's a Tyrion and Sansa show.
So the first part of the chapter is the boring part of the wedding, the ceremony.
Yeah, nobody wants to go to the ceremonies.
Nobody likes ceremonies, right? Am I crazy?
Ours was like 15 minutes long. Everybody loved it.
So was mine. Mine was
Jeff
so
said
quick.
his was going to be bad. It wasn't bad. It wasn't that bad.
Oh, really? I thought you were about to just shit on my ceremony.
I thought yours was going to be way worse. Even like in like the prep, the guy was like, "It's going to be a lot of up down, up down." Like, he was making jokes about it.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, there was
And
that like one section of it, but
I feel like we were in and out like 40 minutes. Like I was
It's not
expecting like 2 hours.
yeah. Well, we were also kind of on the clock too because the sun was going down.
And it's not like you're just sitting there. You're up and down, so it's like keeps you awake.
Yeah.
Luckily, I wasn't having the Tyrion problem. Tyrion's problem here is he didn't piss and he's been drinking way too much wine. We saw it through Sansa's eyes last chapter. He was just drinking like a fish.
Started on wine first thing, yep.
And he continues throughout this
been
entire
drinking.
chapter.
Yeah.
He doesn't slow down at all.
He's down bad. So yeah, we're in the church. Joff, Marge, and even the new Septon. Not the new Septon? Was that guy killed?
Relatively new. The last Septon died during the riot.
During the riot.
So this guy's been around.
But this guy
for a
has he has a new hat. He has got a new bejeweled hat that looks great, and it's big as shit. But Joff looks good. Marjorie looks good. And Tyrion's drunk and he needs to pee the whole time. And that's kind of how we start things off.
Early on, Tyrion, while all that's going on, he does start thinking about one of the big things towards the end of the last Sansa chapter, right? Where, again, it was through Sansa's eyes, so we didn't get 100% confirmation, but we alluded to it.
But it's the knife, right?
The knife, exactly. Yep. So he's like, I should have seen it. Jaime would never send another man to do his killing. Cersei was too cunning to use a knife that could be traced back, but he's basically saying it was definitely Jon.
Joffrey's just stupid enough to do it.
Yeah. So what do you think of his take here, Kyle? Do you agree with him?
I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that was what happened, right? I don't know. It felt like this adds up with everything else that just happened in last chapter. Where like
I don't think it's impossible, but I think there's a lot of assumptions he makes here. It's like, oh, like Joff probably assumed he was super smart by waiting till after the fact, and he just got some random free rider who wanted to win his favor. It's like, okay, a lot of this is speculation. Literally, all he's going off of is Joffrey said he knows what Valyrian steel is.
But like Joffrey's a piece of garbage, man. Like, and then Joffrey acted weird when he was talking about the dagger and the Dragonwood hilt, and like, I don't know. It felt pretty sure thing to me. It's the first theory that made sense. How's that?
Yeah, again, I'm not trying to argue against it. I just think there's some weird parts about it.
I mean, the biggest thing against it, like, I'll just say to Kyle, Joffrey did obviously act very suspicious. I think even, like, Tyrion talks about it here, too. But he's still kind of thinking of why. Like, why would Joffrey do this? Like, what's the motive? What's Joffrey's motive to kill him is still up in the air.
Yeah, that's a big question. And the other thing is, I think at one point, he's like, the whole thought gets started because Joffrey says he knows about Valyrian steel. But it seems like here, at the end, Tyrion concludes that Joffrey must not have known it was a Valyrian steel dagger. He picked a plain one because he thought the dragon bone looked relatively plain so that it wouldn't go by. So, like, he gets on the Joffrey thought because Joffrey says, I'm familiar with Valyrian steel, and then concludes there's no way Joffrey knew that was Valyrian steel, in which case, then why would he have said what he said?
Because
it just, some of it, again, I agree with some of it, but some of it is just confusing.
Maybe George's fault. George might have messed up, man. Maybe put a contradictory kind of statement there, and
maybe did it on purpose too, though. So
maybe.
But we don't have to linger on this. We got a long chapter.
Yeah, for sure. So we get into the cloaking ceremony pretty quickly, which Tyrion's quickly reminding of how embarrassing his cloaking ceremony was. And I think at this whole chapter, he's like, oh, do something that's going to, like, make me feel better about my ceremony. Like, obviously he had to, like, get a stool or whatever to help, or, like, stand on fucking... What did he have to do to get the cloak on Sansa?
Stand on the fool, right?
Dantos, I think. Yeah, maybe Moonboy. I think it was Dantos.
Yeah. He's like, please, just do something that, like, makes me feel better about my ceremony and the wedding the whole time. He's thinking about that.
I don't know necessarily that, but he's definitely comparing to his own and how much worse his own was.
I feel like he was rooting for them.
At the end, he definitely is like, yeah, mine didn't turn out so bad after all.
Mine was better. I feel like he was rooting for, like, Joffrey to trip over the cloak or to, like, not
you're right,
like
the statue of the father to fall on it and stuff like that.
Like, screw up, Joff.
Oh yeah, I don't think he was definitely hoping for him to die in front of everybody like this, right? Like, I don't think I ever got that from Tyrion.
It didn't seem like that was his.
It's weird. There's a few times where like even last chapter,
he's like, oh, he deserves a dagger.
Oh yeah,
he deserves a dagger. Sansa's like, I hope he gets so drunk and falls over and breaks his neck. Here, Tyrion's
I think
like,
she
I hope
thought
the statue.
She thought that. She thought that. Though.
Yeah, she thought that. Here, Tyrion thinks, I hope the statue falls on him. Again, people think they hope Joffrey dies all the time because Joffrey sucks, so it makes sense. But like, in hindsight, it's a little like pointed.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what it is. It's like, man, this fucking piece of shit little kid, man, he's garbage. Somebody's going to do something to him one day, and he's going to deserve it. Is the way I take that. It's like I don't think Tyrion was going to act on those, or Sansa was going to act on that, right? Like,
yeah. So we get the cloaking. There's a lot of ceremony to it. The words, the vows, or 7 vows, or 7 promises, 7 something else. They trade cloaks, and she is now dressed in the old whatever Cersei's grandma wore, and her mom and Cersei.
The musty cloak.
They do say it has like a stag on it, though. I think at one point they do say it does have a stag.
I think it's red with a stag and the lion on it.
Yeah, it has both. Yeah,
and I think Joffrey is wearing stag and lion, and then
you're right, but that's not the
Marjorie's cloak. Just wearing just like his stuff.
Yeah, because this cloak is super old. It wouldn't have the stag on it.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. But to get past it at one point, because part of the cloaking ceremony, I don't know if we talked about this when Sansa got married, is you're putting the cloak to offer your protection now over your wife.
Yeah. They take off their maiden's cloak and you place on their bride's cloak.
Yep. And Tyrion thinks to himself, well, who's going to protect Marjorie from Joffrey?
Yeah, exactly.
And then they process out.
Yep, it's done.
And then a whole bunch of handshaking.
Yep, lots of people are here. They mentioned here Loras and Meryn. Again, these are the king. Loras is there, but he is in the Kingsguard. See me as acting in Kingsguard duty today. They lead out. Joffrey and Marjorie behind. Cersei and Mace behind them. Tywin and Illyri, who's Mace's wife, behind them. Lady Olenna and Sir Kevin behind them. Left and right, who's Lady Olenna's guards behind them. The 2 twins, Eric and Eric. Then behind them, you have Sir Garland and Leonette, who are Garland's brother to Marjorie. So then Tyrion and Sansa bring up the rear. So they come out. Everyone's cheering.
Everyone loves Marjorie.
I feel like Tyrion, again, I said it before, he's like sulky. He's like, they should be cheering me. I saved them, not her. And like, he has some valid points here, but it's also like, I don't know. I feel like he's a little whiny sometimes.
I think,
and he's drunk, so I think that's playing into it.
That happens a little bit later on when they're singing about the Blackwater, but like in this part here, they're like, everyone loves Marjorie, but they're forgetting that Mace is the one that shut off the road that caused the famine, where they didn't have any food in the so. Which I don't know if Tyrion didn't really do anything to help the famine, but
I feel like he also feels that they like Marjorie because she used to be with Renly, and they like Renly because Renly saved them from like in the battle.
Well, he's a nice dude and shit too. They all liked him.
Yeah, but I think he sees it as I saved you in the battle, not Renly saved you.
Yeah, I just wasn't getting battle vibes here at this moment. So
gotcha. Okay.
Tyrion, I thought it was a funny line. Tyrion's like, man, I should have been like Littlefinger and thought of a reason to not be here.
Yeah, like that was some bullshit. Fuck, that was boring.
Yeah.
Is this when they're in the my next notes are they're on the way back. They're going back to the Red Keep to get changed.
Yep. Tyrion tried to make small talk with Sansa throughout the ride, which, went about as well as expected.
Yeah, when he's like, let me take you to Lannisterville, right? Like, he's like...
She's not
the
too
heart
pumped
of
about
Lannisters.
That. Yeah. But the offer to go to Castle Rock is kind of met with like, okay, whatever you want to do. And he's just like, damn, like I can't get her out of this courtesy. Like she's just playing this happy, I'm dutiful wife role. And like, there's just she's just stone-faced to me.
Yep.
I mean, it's also doing a good job of covering how like nervous she is about everything else, right? Like we didn't really talk about that too much this time, but like I'm sure she's dealing with stuff internally. So the fact that she's been like this for weeks.
What are you referencing?
Well, like her escape plan, possible. Whatever's happening with Dantos.
When they're sitting at the reception, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he doesn't think anything's off, right? Because she's been a steel wall for a while.
Well, I think he knows something's off. But it's
the same thing that's been off forever, right? Like
her life sucks.
Her life sucks. Her family's dead, and that's why she's absent. But I thought it was telling. He thought about Joffrey turning 16 in 3 years, and how he'd have total control at that point. And he's like, I might have to get out of here at that point. Maybe we can go east. And maybe Sansa will go with us.
They also said that she's 16, right?
Marjorie is already 16, yes.
Yes, currently 16.
So, I mean, I think that comes into play at the end of this chapter because, I mean, we can talk about it then, but like she just became queen, essentially.
I don't know how that works.
I don't either, but
I think a clear problem, I think straight off the bat would be there's no consummation, right? They didn't have a vetting ceremony, which you would think would be a problem. Even if they did, I don't know if it goes like Cersei didn't take over when Robert died, right? It goes to his kid. They didn't have a kid together, but Joffrey does have an heir. Tommen would be Joffrey's heir. So like through the line of succession, I don't think it would just like ever go to the wife that way. But I'm not. You're right. It's unclear. And I think like if there was a big army, it doesn't really matter what the rules say.
They have a big army.
That's kind of the whole point. Exactly. And they're already inside the city. So yeah. I'm not trying to discount your thoughts there because I am pointing out though that I don't think by the book it goes that way. But the whole point of Game of Thrones is we don't go by the book, we go by who's got the bigger army. So
yeah.
We go where power lies. But yeah, he's like, maybe Sansa will. I always wanted to go to Bravos. Maybe Sansa will want to go there too. And we get a big update on the War of the Five Kings. Nels, do you have that right now?
Yeah, so Tyrion gets back to his room. He goes and pisses. He comes back up eventually. She's in there getting changed. And basically he's like, oh crap, Sansa and Shay are both in there. I don't really want to go in. Pod, pour me some wine. And he just like sits out in the living room drinking wine. And he has this like Jeff said, this big like thought back about like an update on the war. Gregor has seized the Ruby Ford and taken Harrenhal. House Mallister, which is Seaguard, has yielded to Blackwater Frey. Randall Tarley holds Maidenpool, Duskendale, and the King's Road. Devin Lannister has linked up with Sir Forley Prester at the Golden Tooth and is going to march on River Run.
Davin.
Sure. Spelled like Caven with a D. Yeah.
Spelled like Dave with an N.
That's true.
No, Caven is spelled like Kevin.
No, Devin.
This is Davin. This is Davin.
Davin? It's probably
Is it
Davin.
D-A? Did I spell it wrong? I have D-E-V. I have
It's Davin.
D-E-V-A-N.
No, it's A and E switched. Dave.
I have it backwards. It's A first.
I think it's
probably
A first.
Davin.
Whatever.
It's probably Davin.
Whoever he is, Ryman Frey is bringing 2,000 Freys to meet them. So people are marching on River Run at that point.
Yeah.
And then the last one is Paxter Redwine's bringing a fleet around from the other side of the continent soon, which kind of makes sense because he just told Joffrey, like, hey, I'm working on this big ship for you. So Pratt's probably coming with that. So yeah, like nothing crazy there, but basically like we've almost won completely. Like there's very few loose ends that are still holding on. The big one being Stannis is still out there, but the fleet will take care of that. I don't even know if the North is really like...
Oh, they're not concerned about it, but yes, that is definitely something that's still going on, though, is all I'm trying to say.
But that's kind of like why Tyrion's thinking about all this. He's like, it's pretty much over.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, it's...
Yeah, it's the walls are closing in on River Run. All right, and then it's Tyrion's turn to get dressed. So he goes in. Shay is in the process of doing Sansa's hair. And the only note I have here is that Shay wanted to come to the reception. She's like, I want to serve you guys. I want to be around. I want to see this show.
She wants to see that bear, man.
Yeah, she was asking about this earlier, which again, it's one of those things that we haven't. I feel like it's been a while. There was this whole thing where Shay was like, I want to go. I heard about all this stuff from this guy, Simon Silvertongue. And that kind of Tyrion kind of thinks about him a few times later. He had met with this guy.
Well, that was the guy that he walked in on, yeah.
He walked in on him with Shay one time, and he was singing to her. But then also, like, he went and met with him one time, and the guy was like, I want to sing at the wedding. Like, there's 7 people, the slots are already filled, but you could figure out a way to get me in. Somebody could break their fingers or something like that. And then Tyrion basically ends that chapter with this guy. He was also singing this song that was basically like
about
blackmail.
Tyrion.
Yeah, like him and Shay. Yeah, so he's like, Bronn, get rid of this guy. So Tyrion, that comes up a few times later.
Puts him in the stew and flea bottom. That's why he's talking about the brown all the time.
Exactly. Yep.
And now it's time to get to cocktail hour.
Yep.
So they all go down. The first note I have is that just like Sansa's really good at this. She's like mingling, courtesy to courtesy, like, dapping dudes up and doing a good job at it. And we get a surprise showing of Sir Lancel. I think that's the one cocktail.
He is fucked.
He's bad in bad
My
shape.
man, he got infected, I'm sure. That's got to be what's going on.
It's funny, too, because he got infected where? Like, not in his body. When did he get hurt?
At the Blackwater.
Yeah, and he had come in to where Cersei was.
Yeah, we talked about this already. Yeah, and Cersei fucked him up even further, right? She like jabbed him and shit, and
Sansa
left him to die. Sansa saved him. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, Sansa saved him. So here, Sansa's coming up to him and giving him a compliment, and he's basically like kind of taking.
Well,
pride
Kevin's
in
cool with it
standing
too.
Up a little taller. Yeah, they both
Kevon.
enjoy it. Yeah.
Yep.
And yeah, like you said, she's just playing her part.
Yeah, and he's like, damn, like she would be like if Joffrey didn't screw it up. I don't know if it's now, maybe it's a little bit later on. But he's like, she would have been a good wife. Like if Joffrey had it, like any wits to him, like he would have kept Sansa because she was pretty good at this.
Yep.
And we get Lady Olenna Tyrell coming up to talk to Sansa. Then.
Yep, they have a little convo during cocktail hour. She basically is like fussing about Sansa and like giving her condolences for like this is probably the first time a lot of people are talking to him since the news of Robb and Cat. So she's giving condolences for that. And she has this like funny thing where she's like, if Robb was a traitor, but if we start killing men at weddings, they'll be even more scared of marriage.
Yep.
Yeah, like he got what he deserved, but that sucks.
Well, I just think it's a funny
Which
joke.
is really the only way you can put it out there in public too, right? Like this Sansa even says that before.
Yeah. You have to call Robb a traitor or else you're a traitor.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I just think it's funny. She's like playing on the whole like men are afraid to get married thing. But I think it's also weird. She then says like, oh, let's go to Highgarden after all this. Like Tyrion was trying to take Sansa on vacation. Now Lady Olenna's trying to take Sansa on vacation. I think this one's a little weird though because there's even a point where she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't trying to steal. Right? I wasn't trying to steal your wife." When like that's kind of what happened, but in the other direction, right? The Tyrells were trying to set up Sansa to be married to Willis.
Yeah,
and like Tyrion stole. Obviously, wouldn't have been Olenna's wife, but like kind of that thing. They went the other way. So I don't know. I wonder if she's kind of leaning into that.
Yeah, it even seems like she was maybe inviting Tyrion too, but Tyrion's like, I can't go. I gotta count coins. And Sansa, I think it already said like, I can't leave my husband. So it's like, oh, looks like we're staying here. I didn't get the whole the kind of mock of the dwarf pennies. Were they making fun of him counting coins already? Like, was this a thing?
No, I
Dwarf
think
pennies?
Tywin instituted a tax thing where there's like a tax on Hori
at the whorehouse, right?
That Tyrion mentions to Oberyn at one
I
point. I
do recall.
Introducing the Dornish, and he says they call it the dwarf's penny because as soon as Tyrion becomes master of coin, this new tax goes into place, even though it was Tywin's idea. So they're all blaming the new tax on Tyrion, so they're calling it the dwarf's penny. Yeah. Yep. So that's what that is, and again, she's just making fun of him.
That's the end of cocktail hour, and we time to process into the hall. Marjorie and Joff actually ride into the hall on 2 white chargers. Pretty cool. They've got some new garb on as well, looking fresh. Nothing like a wedding outfit change.
One thing too I was going to say is, and I know we'll talk about more of it in the spoiler section, but like big show difference. This is like an outdoor wedding in the show.
Yep. This is in the throne room.
I feel like even like in previous reads, I've always like kind of pictured this outside for some reason. It's like, but I was like focusing on like this is like inside the throne room this time. Not that I don't think it makes too much of a difference, but just an interesting note.
Yeah, it's just the setting.
Yeah,
just interesting.
I don't think it impacts much. Yeah, other than
I think it's if there's one you're in front of the throne, right? They mentioned that the tables are so like maybe that's just kind of like haunting over the top of you. It's just in the background. But Tyrion and Sansa are sat next to Garland. Garland and his wife. The hell's her name?
Leonette Tyrell.
You're right.
Formerly Fossil.
Leonette.
I feel like Garland's a cool dude.
Garland seemed cool, man.
Yeah, he seems nice.
He was, one we know he's an all-American dude, right? Like, he's a good fighter.
Great fighter.
Great knight. And he's just, like, kind of, like, he's, like, polite to everybody, too. Like, he's a gentleman.
Seems like a good chap. And, so that's who they're sitting next to. Garland and Leonette sitting next to Tyrion and Sansa. They're kind of on the end, it seems like, of the dais. As far from Sansa, as far from Joffrey.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, they have him pretty pushed out to the side.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really even help anything in the end.
Yeah.
So Joffrey starts the party, right? He starts popping it off. Everybody's chanting for Marjorie. They start eating. Yeah, it's mushrooms and snails.
Yeah, too many courses to count.
Tyrion does kind of starts noticing that Sansa's, disconnected.
Yeah, she's out of it.
I mean, she's like, I'm not trying to eat much. There's a lot of food, but I mean, she's definitely acting strange too.
Yeah, she's just biting. She's just kind of like, and it makes sense. Like, if you're actually getting 77, like, when this all pops off, there's still 20 courses, 20 to 30 courses left to go.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. Halfway through the wedding.
Yeah. Well, and Tyrion even here, he's like, well, does she wish it was her? Like, she had to go through our wedding, which was shit. Her family's dead, which is shit. She's married to me still, which is shit. Like, I mean, I think, like, he knows there's a lot going on, and she has a lot of reason to be disconnected. So it's kind of like I said before, it's...
Yeah.
Hey, all. Editing Nelson here. So I fucked up a little bit in this episode, and for about the next 7 minutes, I lost my recording. Luckily, Jeff and Kyle were doing a lot of the talking for this part, and we really didn't miss anything important. But I've gone through and edited anything that like Kyle and Jeff were saying that wasn't like a or yeah or like that type of response to me. So we're getting their big thoughts, and I'm going to re-record now some transitions between those. You'll see what I mean. I think when I edit this, I'm going to try and play this editing Nelson. You'll hear it now probably at a lower pitch, so you can tell what's editing Nelson and what's not. And then I'll tell you guys also when we're back to the regular recording after the missing 7 minutes. Post-edit will probably be a little bit shorter than 7 minutes, but you'll see what I mean. All right, so it starts here. I actually wasn't the one talking when it started happening. Jeff was, so take it away, Jeff.
I could say the one thing that's probably on her mind is she's watching Sir Dantos, like, chase Moonboy around or whoever, like,
yeah.
Hey, I thought we were leaving today. You're chasing Moonboy around right now. Like, what the hell's going on? But yeah, at some point Tyrion looks around and he's just noticing, like, all these happy wives. And he's like, damn, look at mine. But I know she would do her duty. Like me, if I had to bet her tonight, I think it comes to like the betting ceremony. And he's like, if she would do whatever I asked of her because she's a dutiful wife, but she's just not happy with me.
I don't remember exactly what I was saying here, but probably something about Tyrion being a creep.
So the next part I have is Hamish the Harper starts the showcase, I guess, for this golden lute. He's the first guy, and he sings several songs.
Yeah, so I probably talked for a little bit too long about the songs here. Hamish sings a few songs. The first one is an original called Lord Renly's Ride, and it's about basically when they're taking over, like when Renly's ghost came back during the Battle of the Blackwater. After that song, he sings several other more familiar songs, including A Rose of Gold, The Rains of Castamere, Maiden, Mother, and Crone, and My Lady Wife.
Food's rolling, and after Hamish, a bunch of performers as well. I didn't list them all, but
With the bear.
Yep.
All right, so for the bear, I think we talked about how the bear kind of sucked and didn't live up to the expectations. It was old and wasn't that great. Besides that, I think here I basically say that for the next little bit of this chapter, pretty much what George does is says, here's the course, and then here's the performers that accompany that course. So like one example is roast herons and cheese and onion pies as pentoshi tumblers did cartwheels and handstands. So it goes on like that back and forth, kind of explained in there. And then every once in a while we'll get intermixed with like the next big singer, I guess next big one of the 7 singers.
Well, yeah, it's a party, right? Like that's the whole point is you're kind of going through the party with them.
It felt like to me it was even like, hey, here's a performer as we bring out this course, right? So like you're almost eating, and I want to say like the courses maybe even like tried to line up with the performer, like, oh, here comes a fire breather, like here's a hot spicy meal for the fire breather. Like they tried to plan it out like that too.
I think we got a little bit distracted here. I don't think we're talking about anything interesting. We might have mentioned that the next singer shows up, who is Coolio.
Oh, man. At some point here throughout all of these performers, Tyrion even does turn his hand and says, like, hey, did you see that? And she's like, what? I'm not even watching. So just kind of like her disconnect. Like she's there, but she's kind of checked out mentally.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I think at this point I was saying, like, yeah, not only is Sansa checked out, but like Sansa's checked out during something that normally she would like love, right? Like just think back to Sansa during the first book when she's like more excited about anybody about going to the tournament, right? She loves this type of thing, like fanfare, people dressed up, like all those celebrities around.
Yeah. It's like the royal wedding, like the actual royal wedding that we had to live through, right? Like it was the biggest, show. And like, think about like how people like made such a big deal about what they were wearing and, yada, yada, yada. And this is that. This is literally that.
All right, so the next part we were talking about, I think we're definitely talking about the next singer here, who is Coolio, and I think I was mentioning how he also plays the Rains of Castamere, and Tyrion thinks to himself that if he has to hear the Rains of Castamere 7 times, he'll go down and apologize to the stew that he had, like the bowl of brown that Simon Silvertongue ended up in. But yeah, right after I was talking about Tyrion's joke about the Rains of Castamere.
Olenna had the best line when it comes to the Rains of Castamere.
Yeah, I forget how it goes. I haven't heard it in an hour.
I forgot how it goes.
Yeah.
And then here I think I just kind of bring up a thing that Jeff had just said, where Tyrion asked Sansa like which one he liked better, and Sansa's like, oh, I wasn't paying attention. And then I think again Kyle's about to bring up something we kind of already mentioned.
Well, that was the best part. Hang on, is that he does notice her look at Moonboy and Dantas, but he says that she fakes an unconvincing interest in them. But like earlier, super interested in what Dantas is up to over there. Like that is like, yeah, like what the fuck? Because as far as we know, she never got a full plan, right? Like it was kind of like all will be revealed on the night of the wedding.
Yep.
And with that, we're back to the normal recording. So that was pretty much all I missed in my recording, and what you just had was my makeshift thrown together fix of it. So here you go. You'll get to also hear Jeff and Kyle yell at me for losing some of the recording, which is always good fun, hearing me getting yelled at, right? Anyway, enjoy the rest of the chapter. Sorry about the mess up.
How long is your guys' recordings?
Don't do this to me.
I missed 10 minutes, but I'll figure it out.
You better fucking figure it out.
How do you fucking delete shit all the time? I had one problem 4 years ago and never again.
This hasn't happened in like a year for anybody. Calm down.
6 weeks for you.
10 minutes. Not true.
All right. Can we move on else to, like, were you even recording all your mumbling about these different songs?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I can just probably remumble and figure it out.
All right. Let's get to the singer that more shit starts going, which is Galleon. He comes out and he sings this long ass 77 verse song about the Blackwater, which
Yep.
I think we hear some little parts about it. The biggest parts is Tyrion is just, I think there's two kind of big parts here. Tyrion is obviously annoyed that Joff is getting the credit for doing nothing when he
Yes.
risked his life and his face and everything and almost died. Garland gives a little bit of Tyrion credit. He's like, yeah, we know what you did. Like, you're the man. Like,
He hypes him up.
it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A valiant
And
deed unsung is no less valiant. Like he's still like, that was awesome, man.
Well, I think it's a double meaning because Tyrion says, "I'm going to kill all the singers,"
Yeah.
and I think he's like, "Oh, the world won't be hurt from that because people will still be doing good, and good deeds don't become less good because there's nobody to sing about them." But I think you're also right. It's also playing on Tyrion, like,
Well,
I know
100%,
you did.
because he calls it out exactly later on. He says exactly what
Yeah.
he did. So right here, it's actually
Yeah.
right here.
Yeah, because Tyrion, the way Tyrion gets to it is pretty funny, right? Because the guy's singing out loud, and he says, "The Dark Lord assembled his legions. They gathered around him like crows, and thirsty for blood, they boarded their ships." And Tyrion finishes it and cut off poor Tyrion's nose, and makes Leonette laugh. And she's like, "You should be a singer." And that's when Garland goes full hype mode. Like, no, he wasn't meant to sing. He was meant to do good things. Be a beast.
Yep. Big red flag here. They start singing about how great Cersei was in the battle as well. And Sam's like, bullshit. She didn't do that. Like, out loud,
Well,
right?
It makes
Like,
sense to break character.
Yeah.
Yeah, that, and it also shows that she was listening to the singers, right?
At least to this singer, for sure.
At least a little bit.
She was paying
I think what
attention.
it also is doing is it's kind of showing her, like, we've talked about this a few times here recently, is just like her base of knowledge coming from these songs, and I think she's seeing that her worldview is probably incorrect.
Well, I think the point, there's definitely like a literary point there where when she's like, "What, this isn't true," and Tyrion's like, "Don't believe everything you hear in songs," that's
Yeah.
like 100% on the nose of Sansa's whole
Yep.
character.
Exactly,
for sure.
and that's what I'm saying. This is her breaking out of that. More of
Yep.
her breaking out.
Yeah.
So he finally finishes. Yeah, he finally finishes. Like, people are like falling asleep, drinking more, like kind of eating.
Stabbing each other. Some Dornishmen and some Reach people.
Yeah, someone gets stabbed, someone gets thrown in jail. And then it's time for Joffrey to call out his performers.
Yep. Next entertainment is the Royal Jousters. And basically two come in, they're on a dog.
Well, Tyrion
and a pig
notices
dressed-
that he's smashed, right?
Joffrey's drunk.
Is the first
Well,
thing.
yeah,
out.
he's like,
Yeah,
"Damn,
yeah.
I'm drunk."
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
more drunk.
He's more drunk, yeah. So they come in, Tyrion can't take first, but when he does, it's two dwarves on a dog and a pig. I don't know if they say who's riding which, it doesn't matter. One's dressed with like wolf, like Stark armor, the other one's dressed with Baratheon armor, which again...
It's pretty obvious that the Stark guy was supposed to be riding the dog.
Okay. I wasn't thinking about it.
I think it's pretty obvious.
I think the weird thing here is Joffrey is a Baratheon. One of these guys is a Baratheon. I guess the Baratheon one is the one that wins.
It's the usurper.
I don't think
it's the usurper Baratheon. It doesn't matter. It's the uncle, either
I guess
uncle,
so, but like Stannis didn't even use that sigil.
whatever. I think it's Renly. It's Renly, because wasn't Renly wearing like a gold? You know, he's all colorful.
I guess.
From what I thought, it was Renly. They don't say it, but it's Renly and
Rob.
And it doesn't really matter that it's his uncle because they were usurpers, and he's like, I'm going to kill him
And
anyway.
it's not how
so.
it goes anyway. It's not like like a
it's
representation
just-
of war. Those two never fight
They
each
didn't
other.
fuck each
But yeah.
other.
They did
They
it
didn't
better
fight
in the
each
show. No, we could say that, right?
The show seems pretty good. Yeah, the show seems pretty good here.
It
Pretty
actually
competent.
made sense in the show. Like, this doesn't really make sense why it's just these two. But
I agree.
all right,
I agree.
these two.
This is just a comedy routine. Haven't you ever been to like minor league baseball where they do this
But
shit?
the show is better. The show's comedy scene is better. It makes sense.
Yeah,
it actually
I
makes
agree.
sense.
I've
This
never
is actually
seen
a
it.
better one in the
Well,
Yeah.
that's why I'm
One
saying
day.
it, Kyle. One day you will,
maybe one day.
and then you can compare.
So they joust. The first tilt, the one knocks the head off. I think the
Stark head goes
one
flying.
head comes
Boom,
off.
Done. Yeah, sure.
Everyone actually kind of freaks out for a second. They're like, "Holy shit, what just happened?" But a melon comes out. It turns out it's a melon, not a.
I mean, you had to know that this guy's head didn't go flying off.
They go to tilt again. Somebody falls off the freaking thing. The dog starts humping the
Yeah,
pig. The two knights start
it's just
humping
a
each
mockery.
other. Everyone laughs, and then they make a joke about like, "Put your sword up," and he's like, "I would if you stopped moving the sheath." And
Yeah,
then I think Joffrey's like, "Aha, champion!" I think it's pretty much how that goes. So
wait, but you're not the true champion because you haven't fought all challengers off. Uncle, would you like to fight in this battle?
So Tyrion's like, I'll fight, but only if I fight the one person I know I can beat. Well, he says it. He says you, Joffrey,
and he stood up. He popped up furiously on top of the table to make this claim.
So Joff's on the table too. I actually missed that until there's later it says Joff's getting down from the table. I'm like, wait, was Joff on the table? So Tyrion's just matching him. But yeah, this was like a line that caught me. You guys know the animated The Grinch movie?
Which, the original or the new one?
The Grinch That Stole Christmas. The OG.
There's like 7 of them now, but yes, I recall.
The OG animated one. There's a part where he like has this pretty early on. He has the grin, and it just like curls like so many times.
Yeah,
that creeped me the fuck out as a kid, and that's what I think of when I read this line.
I think that's the point of it.
Like nightmares. Like I would stop watching.
Well, then you're soft.
I'm done, Dad.
I'm
not watching the Grinch.
You're softer than Charmin.
But I get that. This is what makes this line makes you think of. Your Grace, he called. I'll ride the pig, but only if you ride the dog. Joff scowled, confused. Me? I'm no dwarf. Why me? Stepped right into the cut, Joff. Why, you're the only man in the hall that I'm certain of defeating. He could not have said which was... Wait.
Yeah, he could not have said which was sweeter. The instant of shock silence.
No, there's a part where Tyrion says like he had a crazy smirk on his face.
Well, he says Tyrion Lannister did not remember rising nor climbing on his chair, but he found himself standing on the table. The hall was torchlit blur of leering faces. He twisted his face into the most hideous mockery of a smile that Seven Kingdoms had ever seen.
Yeah, and then that's where I started my quote. So I missed by one line. Yeah, so that line where he twisted his face into the most hideous mockery of a smile that the Seven Kingdoms had ever seen. But that's what he's just like giving him evil eye, like in front of everyone on his wedding day.
Oh yeah. Yeah, well, he's pretty much like, fuck this, right?
Like, even if he wasn't the king, you don't fucking do this. Like, you don't just come at the king like the groom like this.
Worse things, I'm sure, have happened at a wedding, and it gets worse here in a second.
Yeah, that's true.
But, I mean, he's also, like, it's also demeaning, like, right? Like, he's your little nephew.
100%. I mean, yeah, Tyrion just got shit on, like, it was 100% uncalled for. So it's like, it's equal retaliation, I think.
Yeah, this is not really too much over the top. And I mean, it is kind of in jest, and like everybody kind of goes on with their day afterwards for the most part.
Nobody really skips too much of a beat. And Joffrey's about to pop off the table too and dump the chalice on the top of his head. And then it doesn't seem like people laugh, right? They laugh and they're like, all right, let's move on to the next course. Like, bring it out. We're ready to eat some more.
Exactly.
It's just all what happened between these two.
Yeah, and then Garland stands up or gives him a little heads up. He's like, he's fucking coming for you, man.
Well, once Joffrey dumps it all over him, like everyone is.
Well, this is before he dumps it all over him. He's like, "Hey, man, watch out! Here he is." Yeah, like Garland's totally on Tyrion's side.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Good, seems like a good dude.
Good dude.
But then, and again, remember Joffrey's chalice. This is the chalice he got from
3 feet tall.
Last chapter. Yeah, huge, exactly. Yeah. So he basically dumps a 5-gallon bucket. Tyrion even mentions like when they filled it up with an entire flagon.
That's big.
He dumps this all on Tyrion.
Yeah, but Joffrey
everyone
is smashed,
pretty much.
I mean, how much is in there?
Everyone is pretty much in like everyone is in like calm down Joffrey mode. Like Marjorie's like, oh, come back, like chill out.
Yeah.
Like, again, Tyrion says he like tries to give Joffrey an out, and he's like, oh, I think you spilled.
Yep.
He could have given Joffrey an easier out. He's like kind of trying to give them both an out. You know what I mean? Like he's trying to not make himself look too stupid either. But I think Joffrey should have taken it.
What's he gonna do? Get up and fight him? Like,
yeah, I guess you're right. This is the best he could do.
He doesn't have any option but yeah, let's move on. So he pours it. Marjorie does get him to leave. More singers come out, right? Or
Alaric.
One singer's about to come, and Joff's like, hold on, I need to make a toast. But his chalice is empty, and he's like, all right, I can't toast with an empty cup. Uncle, you come be my cupbearer. Pour me my wine, which gets us into the next part of it. So he kicks it too, right? Like Tyrion has to even like crawl under the table to get the chalice. And then the pie comes out.
Yep.
So I think Tywin was like, hey, pie is coming out. Like, let's get ready to go. Marjorie's like, hey, we need your sword.
Tywin says we need your sword. Marjorie says, don't use your sword, use the other sword. And this is when he calls for Aelin. And this is when, like, shit starts getting weird. Sansa's like, oh, shit.
I was definitely like, oh, no, fuck, they're going to use ice. Like, for sure.
Exactly.
This is a whole different sword, right? This isn't the one that Joffrey was presented with at breakfast. Because
this badass.
That's the one they don't want used.
Exactly. It's weird because Tywin says, Joffrey, they need your sword for the pie.
Okay.
And then Marjorie's like,
That shit was too nice. Don't use that. Yeah.
Yeah, your sword's too nice. It's not made for slicing pies. And then Joffrey's like, Ilan, bring your sword. Exactly. It's supposed to be ice. Oh no, it's not ice. What the hell? Ilan's sword does sound badass though. It's like got a dragon glass pommel and rubies and stuff. But
it does sound like a cool sword. Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like a cool sword. It sounds like it's supposed to kind of mimic ice, and maybe even like for someone who doesn't know what ice looks like. Like Sansa is probably the only one that's like,
maybe.
Hold up, that's not my father's sword.
Tyrion recognizes it when Sansa mentions it, but yeah. Kyle, thoughts?
I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know what happened to it because it seems like it's a completely different sword, right? It's not like they ruined ice. I don't know what they would have done with it because even Tyrion's surprised by this, right?
Yeah.
Maybe they gave it to the mountain or some bullshit. I don't know.
And Tyrion's like, damn, I should have sent that home because Tyrion made the deal to send back the bones.
Yeah, he should have sent this home, yeah. Yeah, he's like, it belonged with them. I fucked up, right? Like, so Tyrion definitely is kind of...
He knows the way of politics in the world.
Like, well, hang on. Maybe I'm spoiled by, like, knowing how people's feelings of Tyrion are after all the show is over, right? Like, I know that he's still very loved. And I mean, I can see why. He is witty and everything, but
You're
like...
saying people's opinion of him?
People's opinion of him seems very high. So, I mean, I think maybe he goes on a bit of a redemption arc. And this feels like it might be kind of kicking off in a way. Like he does seem like he's understanding, like, man, fuck the Lannisters, right? Like, this is kind of bullshit. I'm sure I've been bred in, or, you know, born into this lot in life, but it's been nothing but shit for me. Like, everything has been shit. My dad shits on me, won't give me anything. Like, my wife sucks. My life sucks. I can't be with my girlfriend anymore. Like, this is all pretty awful. And that's kind of even how this chapter ends, it feels like, when he's like looking for Sansa. He's like, man, we need to get out of here. Like, I should have left a while ago. Like, I need to leave. Yeah. Like, why am I a part of this? Like, I'm not respected here. These aren't my people. It's kind of the vibe I'm getting from him.
I would say people like him because he's entertaining, but
yeah, I think that's definitely a part
He's
of it,
funny.
Jeff. But I also feel like I've never heard, like, you know, bad things about him in a way.
We have in the Discord.
He
That's
definitely
fair.
has character flaws, but for the most part, I think he has good intentions. Or he tries to have good intentions.
He
with everything
thinks he has
does.
good intentions.
But he definitely has character flaws. But yeah.
Well, yeah, for
and he's
sure.
definitely funny, which helps. But yeah, that's what makes him a good
any
character.
good character's really going to have a flaw, right? Like, that's
to
kind
have
of the point of
character
it.
flaws, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, as they cut the fake pie, birds fly out, everything like that. They're also bringing out the real, like, the pie, right? The course, the actual
pie
pie.
comes out.
Slices of pie.
Yeah. And this is when shit starts happening.
Yeah, in the middle of this though, Tyrion's like, "Hey, Sansa, like." She gets like woozy, right? Like, she's like about to pass out. Like, you need fresh air.
She looks pale. I'm all soaked.
You need fresh air. I need to change. Like, let's get up and go. And Joffrey's like, whoa. You're not going anywhere. You're my cupbearer. Like, get on back here. And
yep. I have this little bit of a quote.
Hang on. So did he fill the cup?
He did.
Originally?
The first, before the pie.
On Tyrion.
For the toast.
Yeah.
Before the pie, he poured it up. Joffrey drank from it, and then Joffrey
so he poured from it, and he drank from it.
Yeah, and now it's been sitting on the table to where we are now.
Yeah,
with no mention of it. Interesting thought, though. So yeah, I have the quote starting. The king's chalice was on the table where he left it.
The king's chalice was on the table where he'd left it. Tyrion had to climb back onto his chair to reach it. Joff yanked it from his hands and drank long and deep, his throat working as the wine ran purple down his chin. "My lord," Marjorie said, "we should return to our places. Lord Buckler wants to toast us."
"My uncle hasn't eaten his pigeon pie."
Holding the chalice one-handed, Joff jammed his other into Tyrion's pie.
"It's ill luck not to eat the pie."
He scolded as he filled his mouth with hot spiced pigeon.
"See? It's good."
Spitting out flakes of crust, he coughed and helped himself to another fistful.
"Dry, though. Needs washing down."
Joff took a swallow of wine and coughed again, more violently.
"I want to see you ride that pig, uncle. I want..."
His words broke up in a fit of coughing. Marjorie looked at him with concern. "Your Grace."
"It's the pie, not pie."
Joff took another drink, or tried to, but all the wine came spewing back out when another spate of coughing doubled him over. His face was turning red.
I can't."
The chalice slipped from his hand and dark red wine went running across the dais.
Yep, that's pretty much it.
"He's choking."
Like, I think that quote, there's nothing like super crazy there. I mean, it's obviously like the part where everything goes down. If you're trying to take like an analytic eye at it, that's the important bit, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, right, Sansa, you said, was looking white. but maybe she saw Dantos do some bullshit, right? Like I don't know what else would have messed her up like this.
I think a lot of it might have been the family source.
She might have been able to do it.
Who?
I think this is maybe my realization that Sansa might have been able to do this.
It's weird because we haven't had a Sansa POV in a while.
Yeah.
And last chapter, even her thoughts were like
she was
eerily.
pretty happy.
I've never actually thought about this before, but like no, she didn't mention like the escape even in her thoughts.
Yeah, well, we talked about this.
Chapter.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So it's like it's almost as if like because we literally haven't seen her point of view in so long, like probably like months, like book time. If there like was an update in the Godswood where it was like, hey, you're involved more, you know what I mean? Like you're involved. Yeah. We wouldn't have seen it, and potentially she just like didn't think about it last chapter. So like,
well,
you know
and I mean, like you got to create
kind of like
suspense too, though. I mean, yes and
no.
To
me,
I
they
mean,
just don't have a Sansa chapter then, though. So I don't know.
Yeah,
but.
Sure. 3 Tyrions in a row wouldn't have worked great, but I mean, or this would have been one long ass Tyrion.
You don't need the last 2 chapters. Just get rid of them.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I mean, I think like she has motive for sure, right? Like her family just got killed.
I don't think anyone would argue her
like,
motive.
Like for me to be like, I don't know, she seems too nice. Like I think everything I've said about her so far this chapter is like it feels like she's breaking out of her standard mold, right? And so why not this?
Okay,
it's kind of where the Cersei's conclusion by the end of the chapter.
No, Cersei's right? conclusion is Tyrion
and his wife.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I forgot about that. I mean, I've read it, so I mean, you're not spoiling anything. Yeah. I just didn't remember that it said end as a take them both. Yeah.
Yep. So just a couple notes that I have. Everyone starts freaking out. Joff looked up. I thought it was interesting. Tyrion saw Jaime's eyes in Joffrey at that point, and he's pointing at Tyrion, which not a good look. Not a good look for you if you're getting pointed at while someone's choking.
Well, Tyrion thinks, is he begging forgiveness? Like,
yeah, nah.
I don't think so, Tyrion.
It's not in his. He did say he looked scared though, right? He looked the boy a little bit.
Yeah, he's like he is just a kid. He's only like 13. Like,
yeah,
this is actually a 13. Like, as readers, I think that's kind of supposed to be like, hey, just so you know, you're all like happy that I just killed a 13-year-old. It's kind of like that's George right now. Yeah. It's like gotcha.
In all the confusion, Sansa's gone, and everyone else is running out too. Like people are hightailing it out of there. Some people are throwing up. Yeah. Shit's going off in this throne room. But Sansa's gone, and I think this is kind of weird. Tyrion he walks over to the smoking gun and picks up the chalice.
Super weird.
And he pours it out. Right, so it's like, okay.
It's another thing where I feel like George is hiding, like there's a missing sentence there. Like there's a thought Tyrion had, or he's like, he picked it up, he poured it out. It's like there's a missing thought there that we should have. Like, why did we pour this out?
Well, for sure. So I think, I don't know, it felt like he's like, he got what was coming to him, right? Like this fucking shit has been miserable. He's treated me like shit. I haven't done anything to him but try and help. And he's just been a piece of shit. And like he just got completely belittled at this in front of everybody on the king's wedding day.
So what you're saying basically,
Tyrion said, "I bet somebody poisoned him." He figured it out and was like, "Fuck this kid! I'm gonna make this really hard." Like,
I'm on whoever it was his side.
Yeah, like fuck him. Like I think he was just done. And like I said, this kind of fits with what I was saying about everything else. Like where he felt like he was done. Right, like.
Fuck it, let me get rid of this.
This is him realizing like I should have left a long time ago. Like fuck all this. Yeah, like I'm I didn't do it, but I'm not helping them fucking figure out who did. Like I'm out.
Yep. That's pretty much how I read it too. Yeah.
So Cersei's holding the body. She's screaming, right? Get help. Tywin's like, look, he's gone. Like get off. And then that's when she yells, it was him and his wife. Get them both. And end scene.
Except not end scene though. Like Sansa's gone already, it seems.
I said that.
Okay. Well, we did kind of say it, but like we didn't talk about it, right? Like,
well, now it's our time to talk about it. I just want to
we
wrap
don't know
up
how
that.
gone.
She's just lost in the
confusion. We don't know how gone. Exactly. All we get is Tyrion looked for her, and everyone was running.
But
she was
like that feels like do this. It'll create a huge distraction. and now you get out.
Yeah, I never thought about it before, but in hindsight, I think a lot of the reason we probably haven't had a Sansa POV in so long is because, obviously more details would have had to come out.
Shock and awe. Shock and awe.
That he didn't want us to know about, exactly. So,
were you expecting this, Kyle? That's the first question. Were you expecting another death at a wedding?
No, I was not. Right, like especially not like this. I don't know. It seemed
poison.
That was kind of why I opened the way I did tonight. Right, like it seemed so kind of out of place and unfitting for the garbage that he was, but I guess you're right. Like, I mean, it was pretty shitty. Like coughing, dying, and choking.
Well, I feel like you have also recently been saying like something has to happen. Like
something good has to happen
for everybody. Exactly.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
This is the good thing is a 13-year-old boy dying, but at his wedding. But it is a good thing.
Yeah.
I want to, Nels, can we talk about a previous Stannis chapter real quick?
Stannis doesn't have POVs, but Davos chapter.
Davos chapter is it?
Sure.
Is that out of place?
Is it the prophecy?
Ring any bells? What
does the Davos chapter ring any bells?
It a prophecy.
The fire or whatever.
There's 3 leeches that they threw with 3 names.
Yeah.
I think is what Jeff's getting at. Yeah. Is that a prophecy? I don't know. That's more of like
a. Just the leeches.
We're doing black magic.
I got you. No, I thought of more of just one of the, like that was what somebody saw in the fire or something. I forgot what they were. Like, I saw a wolf king crying and I saw blah, 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 blah. I forget what those were. But the leeches is fair. I mean, I don't think that's a spoiler or a missed. It's more of a missed connection on my part. And I don't even know that it was. It was just kind of.
Yeah, we would have got to it
an overlooked thing.
I'm not like super. I'm not super astounded. Yeah, that like like that's.
It's something it's easily overlooked.
Oh yeah, sure. It's more. Yeah, no. I like
I think
Jeff.
Also the last time we talked about that, it was. I think I mentioned one of the things was like it's interesting because like what really changes now. Right, let's get some predictions on like what's next. Like this doesn't seem like on paper what's going.
Like I said, the Tyrells have some claim.
Like when Rob died, there's no like clear air. Fuck, big problem, right? Like that's not really the problem here, right? Like there is a Tyrell thing that could bubble to something, but in terms of like lineage, like again, like the way I see it is we have an heir.
You have an heir. You have a queen regent still.
Yeah, like we got people around, so it's not like a massacre, right? Where it's a complete.
Well, I mean, let's be
house.
Also real here that Joffrey was definitely Cersei's baby boy.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, people are gonna be upset about this for sure. I'm talking like politically. I think on paper this really doesn't change much.
Joffrey wasn't really ruling. He was just
exactly.
He was just fucking people up for no reason. Was really all he was doing.
Well, that's exactly what I'm saying. Politically wise, we had the council was ruling. Joffrey was just a boy who was waiting to come into his age. We just now have another boy
and sentencing people to fucking horrible punishments for whatever they did.
Yeah, he was a dickhead, but again, that doesn't have like political scale, like statewide scales. Like he wasn't impacting. I don't even know what the word for that. You know what I'm saying?
Politics.
Yeah, it's just like who's our king now, right? Who's king, right? It seemed like the war was ending.
Yeah, Tywin is running shit. Tywin is still running shit.
Tywin's running stuff. What I'm getting at. The war is ending. Like we lost our face, right? We lost the face. Like who's taking the face of the crown?
Yeah,
Tyrion is probably not in great shape with the queen.
Well, yeah, Tyrion's in a little hot water.
But I don't know if
at the moment.
Tywin would believe that he would do it though, right? Like I don't know. He's kind of got.
Yeah, what happens now?
He's got kind of a decent, I guess, ally in Tywin. Tywin doesn't seem to hate him completely. He doesn't make his life easy, but I mean, he's still his son, right? Like I don't know. I feel like he still.
Tywin's kind of logical, right? And just his like in general life, like he's not as emotional as Joffrey or like quick to pull the trigger as Joffrey and Cersei. He's kind of more
he doesn't respect him the same as a human, but he's definitely willing to still say not willing, but he has to say that he's his son. So I mean, he
made him
still gets that.
And he made him master of coin, which are two like
pretty decent posts.
They're not nothing titles, so.
He's not just going to be like, all right, yeah, fuck this guy. Like, he definitely did it without due process.
Yeah.
But, all right, I'm good.
So,
Kyle,
we'll see.
Yeah.
Anything else? Any for Sansa or no?
I mean, if you want me My guess, and I had said this already, was that Sansa had left the room, and then while we were arguing about stuff, I did look, and she is like in trees or something. So I think I might have gotten correct on that one, because I was like, these fuckers are trying to act all sneaky, but I'm pretty sure I got this one right. So I looked it up. I mean, I didn't spoil anything. Like I said, it's the first chapter, first sentence of the next chapter, but
are you glad that we're going right into Sansa next, or would you have wanted, like, do you want to kind of wrap up this storyline?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good thing, right? Like, sometimes it leaves you wanting more when it's like, it switches. You're like, oh, come on, like this is stupid. So it's good that it doesn't always do that, I guess, is what I would say.
I feel like that's why Dany's not my favorite, because like when I read anything out of Dany, I was like, I just don't.
You're not getting a back-to-back
story's bad, but it's not. Yeah, it's not what I want to hear about.
It's impossible to get. She's the only POV, right? It's impossible to get a back-to-back storyline there.
Yeah, exactly. It's gonna be another 20 chapters before I get to see more of this. Yeah.
So even if we got a Jon POV next, there might be like news about like, oh, some shit popped off down by where you care about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we don't have any option with Dany.
I mean, I care about Jon, I think, more than this, actually. I think I like the Jon stuff like, more than King's Landing.
Or just a general example.
Yeah, I got you.
Is when you're even far away but close enough, you can still get news of the other areas when you're way over in Dandyland.
Yeah. All right, let's sign off. We're going.
Yeah, we're
good work.
Wandering.
Good chapter. Long one, finally. Long pages, but
except for the 10 minutes. But
that's on you dumb fuck.
Hopefully, I have a little echo for you. I don't know if I do or not. I probably don't. But
that's a good point. I actually think about that. But all right, well, we'll see the rest. We'll see Kyle in the next one for Sansa 5. We'll see the rest of you guys in the spoiler section.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, later, nerds.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
Bye, Kyle. See you on the next one.
Bye, Kyle.
Now, on a spoiler section for Tyrion 8, The Purple Wedding. So I think we can tell Kyle it's called The Purple Wedding. I'm just jumping right into it. I think we can tell him that because I don't think that's it's never in the book, so it's not a spoiler. That's like a fan-made name.
Who cares? I mean,
even if it wasn't the books, who cares? You're saying,
yeah. What's the matter? What's the? Oh, he turned
well,
purple.
Well, actually, maybe not, because he doesn't seem to be on the hairnet at all. Well,
yeah.
Maybe if you thought about it,
because the hairnet purple, is that a big deal?
I think the gemstones are purple. We're kind of jumping around. One interesting thing about Kyle, let's start with Kyle's predictions. One interesting thing about him, at one point he was saying that he thought Sansa was the poisoner.
Yeah.
He kind of didn't mention that towards the end with his Sansa predictions. He was just saying like he thought she got away.
She did it. Like which we would have known. Like she has never mentioned being the killer or like knowing. She would have known that plan that she would have. Hey, you have to do this so that we can do that.
I think she would have, but I think I think what I said is true. It's really interesting that for some reason, even last chapter, she doesn't think about the escape one time, and I think it's because. Yeah. Like I said, at this point, she knows more. So if she thinks about it at all, then we as the reader are learning more. Like we're learning. I
don't think she knows more.
I think she might. Like she might know that Joffrey's going to die.
I don't think she knows. No, I don't think she does. Nope.
Nothing. Okay. Maybe then it's just so that we don't get her even a refresher on like the hairnet and stuff like that. So it's more kind of.
She's too young. She's too young to know the details.
Let in on that stuff. Makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. So he thought she might have done it, which I think, again, it's an interesting thing because she is thought to have been like the murder weapon, kind of, right? Wearing the murder weapon.
Too many eyes right on her, though. Like she would have had to get up out of her seat to do something with Garland and his wife, and you know what I mean? Like,
so what's the accepted what happened here? And it's 90% the same as the show, so I think you know this one.
Elena had grabbed the poison out of the hairnet
at cocktail hour. Yep.
Which, let me just do a quick 10 seconds. Like, if Elena's going to be the poisoner, like, she could have just had it in her own fucking hairnet.
I 100% agree. This is one of the big problems I have with the whole current, like, the mainstream way of thinking. I still probably think if you put a gun to my head and ask me what happened, I would probably go with what everybody else says because I don't know if I have a better answer. There's no real good reason, no matter who you think is the target or the poisoner, as to why you involve Sansa in this at all. But whatever.
Finish the first, maybe just so like you could have someone to point it to, like, oh look, the gems, like say shit goes wrong and like the finger gets pointed in the wrong direction, you could have been like, well, look at Sansa's hairnet. It's missing a
That's
piece.
true.
Sansa actually, you could always point the finger back at Sansa because she actually had the gun.
And if they did catch Sansa, you could always be like, oh, test one of the other stones type thing. That makes sense. She's your fall guy.
But if we're saying it's a strangler poison, it was in the hairnet. Olenna takes it from the hairnet. What's the accepted deal on the poison getting into the chalice? Who did it? Marjorie? Did Olenna have to give it to Marjorie at some point? And like throughout this like toasting period, Marjorie actually slips it into the chalice?
So I think there's two. It's either Olenna herself. I think the main two theories are either Olenna, again, along with the accepted line, Olenna or Garland. Because
interesting.
We don't
bringing
hear
Garland into the dirty business.
We don't hear about the complete seating arrangements, but we do. Like if you focus in on the cup, right? Again, I think there's a very big possibility that Tyrion's pie is poisoned instead of the wine. But let's go with the accepted theory that the wine is poisoned. It's interesting because Joffrey upends the cup. He empties it out. Right earlier in the feast, Marjorie's drinking from it, so we know it's clean then. But it's interesting because like right before the pie comes out, he dumps it on Tyrion, empty cup. Tyrion refills it. Joffrey drinks it before he goes to the pie because somebody toasts him, right? Or he toasts somebody, and then he puts it down. Then he goes and does his pie stuff. There's no mention of the cup while he's cutting the pie and anything like that. And then it's the quote we read. So during that time, the chalice is sitting there with some wine in it, the wine that Joff ends up drinking and dying from. And it's sitting in front of Tyrion, Sansa, Garland, and Lyanette because they're sitting next to each other, right? And we know it's in front of like where Tyrion was sitting because that's where Joffrey was. Now, at one point after Tyrion pours wine over Joffrey, Marjorie comes over.
Are we sure that's where the chalice still was?
Yeah, we know it's on the table, like in front of Tyrion's seat, pretty much. And at one point, so when Joffrey pours the wine on him, Marjorie comes over to try and get Joffrey to go back. And at one point, Olenna says something too, right? I think it might be when she jokes about.
I don't know. I don't know if you're right. I don't know if you're right about the table because Joffrey and Marjorie left once it was repoured, right? It was on the table where he had left it.
Tyrion had to climb back onto his chair to reach it. So Tyrion's climbing onto his own chair to reach the chalice. To me, that means it's in front of Tyrion. But I guess you're saying that onto his chair to reach it, that his could be Joffrey's? Maybe Tyrion had to walk over to Joffrey's chair? I think it's a possibility. I always assumed that his chair meant Tyrion's. But you're right, it is tricky with the pronouns.
Let me just do a quick read. We'll just see where Marjorie's like, let's get toasted. Come return to your place, there's another singer awaiting. How can I drink a toast, Uncle? You can serve me since you won't joust.
Around here, when there's another singer waiting, doesn't Olenna chime in? She says, this is when she makes her joke about it's been an hour since I heard the Rains of Castamere. This is why I think Olenna is another possible. She could have just put the poison in herself. It's never stated where she's sitting, but she's in this conversation that is taking place near Tyrion's seat.
She's close enough.
She's close by.
I'm not too worried about where the chalice was at. I'm okay with Garland being the bad guy and dipping a little poison in the deal.
The other point I was saying is Olenna makes a comment there. When Joffrey's clearly at Tyrion's seat because Marjorie's trying to get him to come back, Olenna makes a comment about, come back, the next singer might sing Rains of Castamere. It's been an hour, right? And the fact that we hear Olenna say that, the only two people we've heard talk the entire wedding besides Tyrion and Sansa are Garland and Lyanette. Or like when someone's toasting or making them. So the fact that we're just hearing Olenna makes me think that she's probably close by. So I think she could have just done it. But again, I think the big question is why involve Sansa? But I think your reasoning is decent one. She's the fall guy. But then I guess you assume that the Tyrells don't know about Littlefinger's part of the plan to get her out. They just know that she's going to show up wearing poison.
Yeah. And I think Garland's a good fighter. We know that. We know that poison is looked down upon as a weapon, unless you're Oberyn. I want to talk just a second about Oberyn being a part of it as well, because it goes back to the thought of the scorpion that he gave him last chapter.
Yep.
That's
Scorpion
kind of brooch. I said it there. It's a weird symbol. right?
Yeah, I think if anything, this isn't really my thoughts. I'm just saying what I think the fan thing is. I think most fans think Oberyn probably had something to do with Tywin. Like, was maybe trying to poison Tywin at this wedding. And maybe did poison Tywin, hence why he's on the shitter when Tyrion kills him and why he stinks so bad at his funeral. But I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility. And again, I think soon Jaime's going to get back to King's Landing. He kind of has a meeting with all the Kingsguard. And he's like, what the fuck happened?
He's the next chapter after Sansa.
Okay, and he's like, what the fuck happened? I don't know if it's that one, but pretty soon he's like, what the fuck happened?
Who was tasting his shit?
Well, not like who was tasting his shit, but like they think they end up in the wine was poisoned. They're pretty sure it was Tyrion because the cup was just sitting there and they had both been drinking from it all night. Like they like try and clue through it. It's weird.
So after reading it again, I'm not far off from thinking that the pie was what was poisoned. And let me just spitball here, and then you can give what I know you've researched. We know that they needed something, a distraction, to get Sansa out of there, right? So let's say that it's Littlefinger, let's say even whatever, Lady Olenna. The pie was already pre-cut, right? So we know it was like pieces of pie ready to be served, not this dove pie that was cut in front of everybody. So this piece of pie is poisoned. Littlefinger's thinking, I need to free Sansa not only from King's Landing but from the marriage. So we can kill Tyrion. We can also slip her out during him choking.
Yeah, a death at a wedding is a death at a wedding, right? The king and groom might be a bigger distraction, but Tyrion dying at a wedding is going to be a distraction, right?
Now, the only thing about that is that she's a lot closer to, like, Tyrion's laying there choking. Sansa gets up and runs away. Like, she wouldn't be able to just scoot into the back if it was her husband dying.
You're right. It might be harder.
So that's kind of the one.
I think there's more motive there. And it kind of makes sense
definitely
then
from
why
Littlefinger's point of view.
Why you have Sansa wear the poison, because like we don't know who's gonna be the poisoner. It's just gonna be like somebody that Littlefinger can pay.
Well, I'm saying that this piece of pie was poisoned in the kitchen. So a lot of where my thoughts on this theory come from are probably tainted by the Preston Jacobs video, which I'll definitely link at least in the Discord. But I think what his theory is here is because at one point they mentioned that the Strangler is best dissolved in something sweet. Yeah. And we hear that this pie has lemon cream on it, that a server comes by and pours lemon cream on it. So I think his theory is that Littlefinger just paid a server, and that's why the poison had to be on Sansa, because they knew Sansa would be sitting next to Tyrion. Again, some of the questions there go back to this plan was in motion, right? Sansa was given the hairnet way back in Clash of Kings before she was even married to Tyrion. So you have problems with, I think there's problems with that side of it. So I don't know where I lay on this. Like I said, if you had to put a gun to my head, I'd probably go with just the accepted theory that it's Olenna and Littlefinger working together. But I think there's an argument to be had. And again, we don't have to go in the whole argument there, but I'll post the Preston Jacobs thing because a lot of it would be, I'm sure, just me regurgitating that. But that's definitely, Preston has some out there theories, but that's definitely one I think it's worth taking a look at. All right. I got a couple weird things about this deal that I want to hit on.
Well, before we go on, give me 1 sec. I want to find the quote when Cresson dies from the Strangler, because I think it is important, because Cresson dies like that.
I mean, we've talked about that. We talked about that one. I think you've mentioned it.
His hands were shaking, but he made himself be strong. A maester of the Citadel must not be afraid. The wine was sour on his tongue. He let the empty cup drop from his fingers to shatter on the floor. He does have power here, my lord, the woman said, and fire cleanses. At her throat, the ruby shimmered redly. Cresson tried to reply, but his words caught in his throat. His cough became a terrible thin whistle as he strained to suck in air. Iron fingers tightened around his neck as he sank to his knees. Still he shook his head, denying her power, denying her magic, denying her god. And the cowbells pealed in his antlers, singing fool, 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 while the red woman looked down on him in pity, the candle flames dancing in her red, red eyes. So yeah, he drinks. She says, he does have power here, my lord, and fire cleanses. And when he tries to reply, he can't say anything.
Yeah, while Joffrey's chewing and choking and spitting.
Yeah, Joffrey said,
coughing.
"You need to eat your pie. It's ill luck to not eat the pie." Eating fistfuls of pie. So
are you saying it's not the Strangler? You think it's a different poison?
it is the Strangler, but it's in the pie because he drinks the wine and then he says a bunch
he eats
of stuff.
the pie. He eats. Hold on. He eats the pie. He says it's dry. Needs to drink the wine. Goes back to the pie.
Agreed. But from when he picks up the chalice, right? We read this. This is why we read the quote. He picks up the chalice. My uncle hasn't eaten his pigeon pie, holding the chalice one hand.
Go ahead.
Yeah, hold on. The king's chalice was on the table where he left it. Tyrion had to climb back onto his chair to reach it. Joff yanked it from his hands and drank long and deep, his throat working as the wine ran purple down his chin. Right, so if the wine was poisoned, it was poisoned by now. So he drinks the wine first. Right, that's the point.
But then he's about to eat. Then he
time out. Marjorie says, "My lord, we should return to our places. Lord Bucko wants to toast us." I think that takes as long to say as whatever the hell what's her face said to Crescent, and Crescent couldn't reply. Here, Joffrey starts talking. So go ahead. He talks, says he hasn't eaten his pie.
So he's about to eat his pie, and he says, "See, it's good," spitting out flakes of crust. He coughed and helped himself to another fistful. Dry, though, needs washing down. Joff took a swallow of wine and coughed again.
That's it.
So, there's time there, too. So, if your argument is time...
It's like handful, it's good, another handful, dead Joffrey.
No. He says, "See, it's good. Dry, though, needs washing down." That's basically a conversation he just had. If you're saying that it happens like that, that is against what you just said. He then goes into drinking, and then... "I want to see cough. You ride that cough, cough, pig, uncle. I want." He's still talking and coughing.
He's done.
And then it's cough, the pie, noff, cough, pie. That's too long for what you're saying. If you're bringing in, and this is why I've been watching Suits. Objection. If you're bringing in time, that's too long.
The other thing I'll say towards your point is Crescent is very old. Right, Crescent's almost dying, just walking around.
I don't know any proof that has any effect on the Strangler.
No, I'm just saying, if anything, it would make it work faster on the Strangler, right? So, they might not. We're comparing apples to oranges here. I'm just saying. Speculation. I'm just saying it might not be a comparable. I'm not helping you now. I'm saying I don't know if we can compare them as 1-to-1 as people think, because Joffrey's a healthy boy and Crescent's not. But.
Speculation. Can I talk about what's weird?
Go ahead.
All right. Shay, when was she given this hairnet? Just Olenna, hey, here's a hairnet. Did she say, it looks really good?
Dantos.
Dantos tells her, wear this at the wedding. Okay, yeah. Right. Okay. Wear this at the wedding. Was that wrong in the show? Didn't Olenna give it to her
It was a necklace. Dantos gave it to her, and it was the same thing. But
Dantos still gave it to her. Okay. Yeah. I just thought it was, I put it in my notes, Shay is doing her hair, right? So Shay... understands the importance of... does she understand the importance of this hairnet as she's doing her hair? It was just a thought. My other thought that was eye-turning is Tywin is way too calm during this whole thing. Tywin is suspiciously calm.
So there are theories that Tywin was in on it or somehow involved.
I wouldn't bat an eye if Tywin was a part of this poisoning.
Because he benefits, right? Because we said...
he knows really Joffrey's is awful.
Well, we said what really changes. Tywin's still in charge. The only thing that's different is Joffrey's the one that he has to keep under control. Now Tommen's the one who has to keep it... Tommen just likes to play with kids. It's done.
Absolutely.
Job done. So I think motive is the main reason people think Tywin is a possibility, because he kind of gains the
and again, he acts suspicious as fuck right here.
He's just Cersei, knock it off.
He's so quick to be like, Cersei, he's dead. Let him take him away. No emotion for this guy at all. His grandson just died. He's
Double
like,
grandson.
Cersei, get up. He's dead. Let him go. Let him take him away. That's suspicious. That's weird. And I think going back to the last council meeting, he knows that Joffrey was too far gone. He couldn't control him anymore. Joffrey came right at Tywin, called him a softy for staying on the rock.
Yeah.
He was killing him. I think he was in.
I noticed that when taking notes too, that this was the next time Joffrey has showed up in a chapter since basically him and Tywin got into a fight, and maybe this is Tywin settling that. Yep.
Yep.
At one point, Tyrion thinks, "I want some wine. I want to piss. Blah blah blah. Most of all, I want to strangle my bloody nephew." Again, just kind of on the nose in that one. You said this one. I wish someone had contrived me to take me out of the city. Littlefinger was the clever one. Littlefinger's waiting right off shore for Sansa. Yep. Everyone thinks he's in the Vale. Clearly, this has worked. Again, I think that's going to be a cool surprise for Kyle next chapter. I think the next chapter with Sansa is almost a bigger surprise than this one. I mean, this is a big surprise, but I think learning that Littlefinger's been pulling strings, because he's behind. He's up to something like the whole way up to now.
He's been gone for so long too.
The other thing is you've been saying it too. Where's Varys been out? Varys hasn't been showing his head that much. Where is he
even here? Is he even at the wedding? Yeah.
I think we see him during the trial. I think we see maybe he might come visit Tyrion and he might testify against Tyrion during the trial. I might be thinking of show stuff though. But after Tyrion kills Tywin, he's just like gone. They don't know where he is. Cersei's burning down towers to try and find him and Tyrion in the walls.
The last time we talked to Varys, he tells Tyrion he wouldn't lie to Cersei, right?
Yeah.
And then he doesn't stick up for Tyrion in the trial. One other line, Tyrion thought his big mouth will be the death of him.
Yeah, there's a lot of people think that Tyrion is going to get his tongue cut out. Because I think there's two main reasons. It's said a lot like this, where people will be like, "Your mouth will be the death of you, the tongue will be the death of you." But also because there's this whole theme of the Lannisters have to learn to get by with the thing that they're best at with. So Jaime has to learn to get by without a sword hand when all he knows how to do is fight his way out of situations. Cersei has to learn again
without
she
her
hasn't done
hair.
This yet. Her beauty. She starts getting older. She starts having people whip because her clothes don't fit her anymore because all her clothes are shrinking. Literally every single one of her clothes are shrinking. She's not gaining weight, but her clothes are shrinking. Some people think that means she's getting pregnant, but I think part of it is just like she's not beautiful anymore. People are like, "Oh damn, Marjorie's a hot shit." Cersei's like old and washed up, so she's kind of going through that. How does that go to Tyrion? Tyrion talks his way out of everything. Tyrion chapters would be a lot more boring if he didn't have a tongue, but just like imagine, like how the fuck is Tyrion getting out of any problem?
I think that'd be stupid.
You just need him to be like not a POV anymore.
Yeah. Do we not know that the two swords for Joffrey and Jaime were made out of ice? Is that still a surprise?
All Tywin had said later was that they were made from the other weapon that they were.
A sword that was too big.
But we never called it out.
We knew that was ice. Come on, Kyle.
I don't think we talked about it. Next thing I had is in that little recap where Tyrion goes through the war, we hear that a bunch of people are marching on River Run.
Yep.
This becomes a thing later. Jaime goes and has to get their shit done for them because they're not doing anything. That's the start of that.
Brendan is just doing deals and just fighting off the siege.
Yeah. He does the whole Edmure thing. It's like, hey, I think in the show it's just a trebuchet. That's part of it in the books, but in the books he also says like, if you don't go in and just basically make them surrender the castle, I'm going to send all the River Lords first, right? Because at this point, everyone's on the Lannister side. The Pipers, the Vances, all these people that have been on Edmure's side the whole time, that are still in Edmure's mind, his vassals. Jaime's like, they're on my side now, so I'll send them first. And when they're all dead, then I'll send the Freys, because I don't care about them. And then once they're all dead and most of the people of your inside the River Run are all fucked up, then that's when I'll send in my strongest people and when I do that, I'll kill every single person inside River Run. And then I'll shoot your baby out of a catapult. Or you can go in and save not only people inside River Run, but all of your actual men who are now on my side.
Yeah.
The Vances, Pipers, all the River Lords, right? Those types of people.
Yeah.
Blackwood's, right? That stuff. So, Jaime takes care of business in a ruthless way, but he does it because in his mind, he needs to uphold his vow to Cat to never take up arms against Tullys or Starks again. So that's his ruthless way of not having to actually fight because he knows Edmure's going to take that deal. So I think it's just kind of cool that we hear the very beginnings of that here. Last thing I had was these dwarves. So I agree. The show. We could also maybe talk about the show stuff.
I know. Tyrion meets the girl that was on the pig on the ship.
Yep.
I would forget
they're together
that?
still.
It's like
you did forget that.
It's like I didn't forget. It's like the worst storyline ever. It's a way. You want to talk about stupid storylines? That whole storyline that we meet this girl is stupid.
So why is it just her? Why is it not her brother?
Because I don't remember her brother.
Well, it's because her brother got killed because Cersei sent people saying, "Hey, I want to. If you bring me Tyrion's head, I'll make you a lord." So literally, they're just people are just killing dwarves and cutting nose offs. That's what happened to Penny's brother. So Penny is the girl that Tyrion rides around. She's with Tyrion for like pretty much all of Dance with Dragons.
We're with Penny for way too long. Way too long. That storyline is so stupid.
Penny is the next Shay. They're not that they're like sexually related, but like he thinks about Penny and he thinks about Shay and he thinks about Tysha at the same time a lot. So I think it's like his more like, again, he has like a need to be like needed by, it's not just sexual. I think he wants like someone to need him type thing. I think kind of Penny starts to rely on him. So I don't know. I think that's part of it.
I want you to want me. I need you to want me.
That type of thing. Yeah. The other thing about these dwarves, not only that, but Tyrion says, I'm going to pay them extra. I'm going to find who sent them.
Okay.
Who sent them? Who set this up?
Illyrio. Duh.
Littlefinger tells somebody, maybe Sansa, that he's like, I think he might even say like, oh, did your husband like my show that I set up? Like, I paid for these special dwarves.
I thought Joffrey knew. what was happening. It seemed like Joffrey knew what he was calling.
Joffrey knew ahead of time for sure, but Littlefinger like bought him, paid for him, and was probably like, yo, Joffrey, you know what would be great is if you did this at your wedding. And I think part of again, when you think about like theories, spoilers wise, why is this important? It goes to the mainstream theory. If they want Tyrion to be the one that everyone accuses of Joffrey's murder, it would be good if Tyrion and Joffrey are kind of like button heads during the wedding beforehand.
Yeah.
So how do we make sure they butt heads? Let's put on this show that's...
Yeah. Exactly. Makes sense.
It's going to get under Tyrion's skin.
Doesn't make sense if the poison was meant for Tyrion, though.
Agreed. And again, I like that theory, but I've thrown out all the evidence. Another funny thing that I don't think is super spoilery, but there's a point here when Tyrion, I think after he says some bullshit like, "Oh, I would beat the shit out of you in a joust" to Joffrey, he like gets down and everyone's shook, and even the crowd is now laughing at Joffrey, and Tyrion like winks at Cersei.
Yeah.
He literally like looks at her and he's like, "Gotcha, cool. Fuck you, bitch." But now, then, like, if you actually look at it from Cersei's perspective, like Tyrion did say, "You're gonna ashes in your mouth." You know what I mean? She's like, "I'm gonna take everything from you. Like, I'll fuck you up if you fuck with." Basically, I think he said if you hurt Alayaya, because that's when. And he thinks of it for a second here. They serve Swan. And
he's threatened them multiple times.
And it just doesn't look good here. He's like literally talking shit to Joffrey, winking at Cersei, and then Joffrey dies. It's like,
Yeah, it's not a good look, for sure. Especially when Joffrey's choking and pointing at you.
Yeah, again, I'm just bringing it. That was my last point. I was just bringing it up because pretty much the last part of the King's Landing storyline here is the trial. Tyrion's trial, which leads into trial by combat.
And escape?
Yeah, and escape. Big end.
Yeah. So, let's go.
But we'll see you guys in the next one for Sansa 5 when she meets up with Littlefinger.
All right. Bye.
See you in that one. Bye-bye.